Hey guys, let me clear this out. Okay. Hey, so happy you guys could come live with me today. So, wanted to talk about what is a twin flame. So you guys have seen a lot of these posts that I've been talking about, and you see I keep talking about twin flames, but what are twin flames? Some of you might know what a twin flame is, and some of you guys might not know what a twin flame is. So actually, a twin flame by definition is actually, I'm going to read it from this amazing book. It's called Twin Flames, Finding Your Ultimate Lover. Sorry, I used Oracle cards to kind of mark the pages for myself. So the first thing that they talk about in the book is what exactly is a twin flame, and I really like their definition of it. So it says, twin flames are manifested from the very same soul essence, or more accurately, the same soul blueprint. A soul blueprint is the exact same concept as physical DNA, meaning our souls are created with individual specific codes, qualities, and traits that make us uniquely us. As above, so below is a universal law and principle. Just as we have physical DNA that make up our physical genetics and disposition, so too do we have soul DNA that make us who we are spiritually and non-physically. A good example of this is how physical identical twins share the same genetic DNA, and twin flames share the exact same soul DNA, or soul blueprint. And just as identical twins are unique souls, even though they share the same physical DNA, twin flames are unique among each other, even though they share the same soul blueprint. This is because together they are complements to one soul blueprint rather than carbon copies of it. The way I like to look at it, there's actually kind of this sort of, not really a story per se, but it's kind of like a picture of what it would look like. So think of source, God, love, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, as the sun. Now the sun has rays of light. Think of rays of light as souls. Now, when a ray of light sometimes hits in a specific way, it can create a flame. So think that ray of light creates a flame, and then that flame is split into two and turns into two different fires. Think of it like that. So source creates this soul. That soul came exactly from source. That soul is, and you can have soul mates, right? Soulmates means they are souls that connect with you in your sun. Now, everyone is really considered a soulmate, everybody that you come into contact with. Some people are closer to the sun as you are, and some people aren't. So think of souls as rays of light. And then that ray of light is turned into two flames, and that's what twin flames are. Now, there are many different topics and a lot of arguments that can be said on multiple twin flames that people talk about, which is like having, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 twin flames. This is extremely rare, and it's not really seen a lot into a lot of different things. I know my teachers, Jeff and Shalia, they're a part of a 3-person twin flame, and their twin flame is their child, which is not yet born. So, hey, it can happen. If this is what you believe in and this is what you think and this is what you know is your truth, then great. Then that's what it is. But for most other people that are on this twin flame journey, you have one twin flame, one ultimate lover and teacher and friend and soulmate and all those fun things. So again, I had asked you guys on Instagram, what is a twin flame? Some of the things you guys had mentioned was 2 bodies, 1 soul. It's exactly right. Ultimate lover and teacher. That's true too. The thing to know is that your twin flame is supposed to be somebody who challenges you, somebody who mirrors you. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. They're your ultimate teacher, lover, friend. And one of the things that I like to kind of really figure out if someone is your twin flame or not is, it's like building a house to know if they're your twin flame or not and to get into harmonious union. So the first layer of the house is the first kind of like the basement of the house is friendship. They should be someone who feels like your absolute best friend. The minute that you meet them, you're like, oh my God, I feel so at home with them. I feel like I've known them for forever, because you probably have, because many twin flame relationships are sort of this past life experience sort of feeling. And a lot of people believe that, every time you're reincarnated, that you are constantly reincarnated and have a contract to always be in the life of that person. So there's that aspect, and this person will trigger a lot of growth for you and things like that. But again, really will be your best friend, the one person that you can always count on. And then after friendship, what builds on top of that is partnership. And that again goes more further into friendship than just friendship. So it's about, can you guys partner on a life purpose? Can you partner on a lot of different things? Do you have similar interests, similar core values? And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. You might also partner on just like helping each other. The mirror exercise is a really great tool to use when you find your twin flame, or even in knowing if that person is your twin flame, to kind of figure out like, how do you grow and how do you learn? And by doing that, when you learn and you grow, the other person does the same, and you can kind of raise your vibration, raise your kind of abilities of who you are. So that's kind of the second layer. And then the third layer is lover. And the thing that normally kind of pushes through that is sex, right? I mean, so it's the idea that, there's so much stuff out there that talks about how twin flame sex is like the best sex you're ever going to have. And like, that is potentially true. I mean, it was for me, could be for lots of other people. But essentially it's this sort of, it's supposed to be very awakening when it happens, and it's supposed to be really great and everything like that. And that kind of pushes you through the lover section. And then the lover is really just about, really having that commitment level to each other, having the, the desire to always be near that person, to physically want to be near them, and having that kind of connection and love for that person, and really just, recognizing that that person is your everything and that you love them unconditionally. And we'll talk about that a little later too. So once you get through that, once you can kind of go through all three of those stages, you'll finally reach harmonious union, which is probably the most blissful state you can ever be in. I think the thing that I think is most beautiful when you finally find your twin is that when you can feel like, even when you're not with them, you can actually feel when they're happy, because you just will all of a sudden start feeling happy. And you're like, why do I feel so happy right now? And then your twin will call you and be like, oh my God, this is happening to me. And you're like, oh my God, now I know why I was happy. Or now I know why I was feeling that way. And it's like this amazing thing. Like, you can do something for yourself and your twin will actually be happy for you for that. Like, that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool relationship. Most of the time you have to do something for someone else in order to feel loved, right? But in an unconditional twin flame relationship, doing something for yourself is what makes the twin feel loved, because essentially you're loving them by loving yourself. Does that make sense? So that's a little bit of backstory into that information. So we'll get into kind of the list of what are the signs that you are in a twin flame relationship. So the first thing on this list that I read from here, your twin flame will feel familiar to you. Nobody in this world feels as familiar and as comfortable to you as your twin flame. Not even your parents equal the familiarity and kinship you will feel with your twin flame. It may feel as though you have been friends for lifetimes, and this is absolutely true. Your closest human friend is your twin flame. So this person's like your best friend in the entire world, and you couldn't imagine anybody like getting you or understanding you the way that this person does. I mean, it's like, for me and my twin flame relationship, it's one of those things, and I always used to say it before I even knew about twin flames, was I've always felt like I could tell him about me, like tell him things that were going on with me that I wouldn't even be able to say to myself. Like I was so, there'd be things that I'd be like, I can't believe I just said that to you. I can't believe I owned that. And it's like one of those kinds of things. They're really your true mirror and your closest human friend on this earth. And you can't imagine anyone knowing you more than that person knows you. So that's the first one. Second one, your twin flame will share the same vision for their life as you do. If you are unclear about everything, so too will your twin flame be unclear. They will want all the same things for themselves as you do. They will share a clear vision with you for your lives together if you do the work to create a clearer vision. Their personal vision also complements and enhances your own. So I think this is interesting. In my twin flame relationship, it's funny. My twin actually reminded me of what my vision has always been. And so he has told me his vision has been, to really change the world through music and to just have a legacy with music. And, that was always my vision for my life and for myself, but I never really believed in myself and it kind of fell flat. But it's, ever since I realized that this person is my twin flame, I just kind of realized, oh my God, like, no, that's my core vision. That's what I wanted for my life. I believed that I was this sort of important person that was put on this earth to use music and this gift that I was given, of this talent that I was given to, to do something with it, to change the world. And so, that is another thing, also a vision for, how I wanted my life to be and how I wanted my relationship to look like. Even when I was a little girl, asking God for the perfect person, all of those things ended up being what my twin was all along. And I met my twin when I was 12 years old. So I know that what I did worked because I manifested him. Now, I didn't know he was my twin flame when I was 12 years old, but he was my best friend for 15 years before that happened. And it's one of those things that you just will be so clear on once you actually look and figure out what your vision is, and what their vision is, and you'll see if that kind of resonates or aligns. The third one is your twin flame will desire the same things as you from life. They will want to live similar experiences and gain similar understandings. They will not desire everything exactly as you do because they're not a carbon copy of you, but they will desire a lot of the same things as you. They might have, the same kind of passion for music, like my twin and me do. They might like the same movies. They might like the same games that you do. They might like the same kind of they might have the same interests that you do in, whatever it is. But it's one of those things that you guys can share everything that you have with each other. It's one of those things that, so for instance, with me and my twin, we're both very much into music and performing and things like that. We went to a performing arts high school together. We would listen on the bus to music all the time. We had the same interests. I mean, we just have a ball together. And that's what your twin flame relationship should be like. It shouldn't be this hard, awful thing and you can never find what the person likes in you or whatever. But really, you desire the same things. You want the same kind of life experience. Maybe you both want to travel the world. Maybe you both, want to learn a new language. Whatever the one twin kind of starts to find interest in, you'll notice that the other twin over time has found interest in those things. I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that my twin, who way back when was not really that spiritual, and neither was I, and we knew each other when we were 12, and we kind of stopped talking when we were around 18, 19. Never in my wildest dreams would I have ever thought that my twin would like oracle cards and talk about spirituality and fears and negativity and all this stuff. I never would have thought it. And it was so funny because we really weren't talking for a long time. And I had gone through all of this spiritual growth. And I was like, I talked to my twin, not knowing that he was my twin, just knowing that he was my friend. And it was like, how the hell did we literally had the same journey, but not. And how did this happen? But it's one of those things, you guys are totally parallel. you mirror each other. So the same experiences that you have, they mirror in some form of way. Now, it's not carbon copy. My twin did not have the same exact life that I did, but he had the same lessons that I needed to have that brought him to be the man that matched me in that time period that I came back together with him, if that makes sense. So again, it's really having that kind of mirroring parallel. Do you have that with your twin? So your lifestyle choices will align easily with your twin flame if you take the time to get clear on your choices together and individually. Now, this one was really hard for me because my twin does not have the same lifestyle choices that I do. My twin smokes and drinks and play video games and all this other stuff. And my twin also has, is bisexual. And so I was like, but I am focused on my career, and I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do any of that. So I don't know, I couldn't possibly mirror that. But is he even my twin flame? And then I really thought about it. And I have codependencies like a crazy person. I have codependencies I had on sex when I was younger. I had it on, just like feeling like men needed to like me in general. And that mirrored his own personal sexuality stuff. I had it on food. And I had it on, even just like codependencies, like TV, like watching like shows nonstop, getting addicted to that kind of stuff. I'd be getting addicted to phone games. I used to play Farmville when I was in college for like hours on end, where I would literally set my alarm clock to get up in the middle of the night to harvest my crops. Like, this is how addicted that I was to things. Now, I wasn't addicted to the same things that he was. Again, I'm not a carbon copy as him, but I realized that we mirrored each other. And I noticed that when I work on my codependencies that I have, and I work on healing those and focusing on depending on myself and not on the external things, I noticed my twin also taking the steps to get rid of the codependencies that he also has. So it's one of those things that, a good way to check to see if that's true or not, to see if the person's your true twin flame, do something that you think you're mirroring and fix that in yourself and see if your twin will all of a sudden fix that too. Yeah, quote me. Quote me. Codependency is like a crazy person. Yes, because crazy people have codependencies. Oh my gosh, where am I? So yeah, so when you finally decide what your lifestyle choice is, they'll start to align together. And I'm recognizing that in my own twin flame relationship, seeing that, as I make these new healthier choices in my life, how my twin also makes those healthy lifestyle choices. And as I start to choose my life purpose and my career, I see my twin also doing the same thing. So, that's the real purpose of that point, number 4. Number 5, your twin flame will value the same things as you when you both get clear on your values. A good way to uncover a false twin flame is to get clear on your values with your partner. No true twin flame will avoid doing the work with you if you are sincere about doing your spiritual work and getting clear on your values. So what is it that you value in your relationship? What is it that you value in life? So for me, my values is to have a family. My values, I want my twin to be somebody who will not just think that I am the only sole person that needs to cook and clean. Like, we do that together. It's a real partnership. I want to live in a nice home. I want to have a really nice life. Hell, I want to be fucking famous, to be honest with you. I want to have a legacy. I want to be like a Tony Robbins and speaking like a crazy, speaking all over the world. And I know that my twin values a lot of those same things. I think that when I started to realize what my values were, because I wasn't really sure if I wanted a family because I was very focused on my career. When I started to do that, I randomly would get this conversations with my twin where they would be like, I don't know why, but all of a sudden I want to be married and have kids and stuff. And it's like, yeah, honey, I know, because I started to decide that was my values too. So that's, again, how you know if they're your twin flame is all of a sudden, you're starting to really define what your values are, and that that's what they align with. And I know that, there are multiple other values that I have, but you can kind of go over all of those together. So that's one of the good things to check in on. Number 6, your twin flame will adore you at the core above all others. A false twin flame can have many more love interests, but your true twin flame will not genuinely ever love another human as much as they love you. You know you have left your twin flame long ago if you still sincerely love that person with your innermost heart, even if you find it intolerable to be around them. So, I mean, this really reads true for me. It's so funny because I loved my twin since I was 12. Now, my twin went through a lot of stuff, and I don't know if he actually had those feelings towards me. Yes, adore at the core. Now, this is yes, exactly. So they like have to adore you. Like they just think the world of you. And like it's so funny because my twin and I have very rarely had fights. But when we were younger, of course, we had disagreements and arguments and what have you. But, you know, it's one of those things that, like, even when I was angry at my twin, I couldn't really be angry at them. Like, I always, like, had this unconditional love for them. And we'll talk about unconditional love after this. But, you know, it was like I couldn't possibly, you know, think anything more than love towards them. You know, and my twin and I both have told each other that, you know, we're each other's number one. Like when it comes down to it, the one person that I know I can depend on, the one person I know that will always love me, the one person I know that I can always talk to about anything, the one person who I know will always back me up, who will always know exactly what I need to hear, like who will always just be there for me. That's my twin flame. That's him. I know that. And I've known that before he was even labeled as my twin flame. So, you know, that's kind of like how strong you need to be in on that. And again, like if your twin flame hates you, like that might have to do with some, like, you know, it might have to do with some upsets and it might have to do with a lot of mirroring that you have, like you hate yourself. But to be honest with you, like they have to adore you at the core. They have to find something so special about you that there's something that just draws them to you. You know, it's so funny. My twin told me that the one thing that kind of caught their eye that got them to kind of like even create a friendship with me was that they just saw my capacity to love. And they just said, you know, I want that. I want that because I know that I have the capacity to love. And I want that too. And that was kind of like what drew us together as friends when we were so young. And I think that that's another like thing that you can kind of deter from, like how were you drawn to each other? It can't be one-sided. Now, mind you, there might be a balance issue. There tends to be a balance issue between the feminine and the masculine. But at the end of the day, like at their core, the masculines always will still adore and love the feminine. And it's all about finding that balance and getting it to that point. And that's when you can kind of come into harmonious union when that balance happens. So that's number 6. Number 7, your true twin flame will always love you. You will know this when you tune into your heart center. Your twin flame will never abandon you in love and will never truly withdraw their love. They cannot because they are you. So I love this. There's multiple aspects of this that I want to touch on. So it's so funny because my twin has told me we're in separation. But yet, still through the separation, still talks to me, still contacts me, still everything. Want to know why? Because my twin loves me, because my twin cares about me, because although we might have fights or although we might need space or time apart, when my twin knows that something is important to me, my twin will show up. Want to know why? Because my twin is my twin, because my twin loves me and my twin knows that he'll never abandon me. And I know that he'll never abandon me. He tells me this all the time. I'm never going to leave you. I'm always going to be here for you. I'm always going to love you. And that's what a true twin flame does. A true twin flame will never abandon you. If you are feeling abandoned, that person probably isn't your twin flame. Now, mind you, there might be times for separation because you might need space. And we'll be talking about that in another episode. Girl, separation. But at the end of the day, your twin flame loves you. And when you choose yourself, your twin will always choose you too. And again, talking on the topic of they are you. Your twin is you. And that's, again, what I was referring to before. You know, when you like can love yourself and your twin feels the love because you're loving yourself and your twin actually is happier seeing you love yourself, that's probably the most healthiest relationship that could ever be defined, right? Like, anyone who has not found their twin flame by now, like, let this just be the marketing of why you would want to have a twin flame. It's such a healthy relationship. Think about it. Like, I was thinking about it today, all abusive relationships and the shitty relationships I've ever been in, where I constantly had to give myself to that person and had to empty part of myself and pour myself into that person and lose myself in that person to feel loved. But with this relationship, with this twin flame relationship, the more I love me, the more my twin loves me. And the more my twin loves himself, the more I love him. How, like, beautiful is that? Like, that's the most amazing relationship you could ever be in. Of course, you want to be with your twin flame. Your true twin flame will always genuinely enjoy your company. True twin flames feel comfortable and relaxed in each other's honest and authentic presence. This is funny. So, like, I mean, like, you just have to feel comfortable around them. Like, it's like one of those things, like, you first instantly meet them and then all of a sudden you're like hugging and holding hands. Like, that's the kind of relationship that you need. And, like, for me and my twin, like, we, within a year of, like, being friends, we were inseparable. People, like, didn't know us as anybody else but our names together. Like, that was it. They didn't see us as just Rachel or just so-and-so. They saw us as Rachel and so-and-so. And that's just, like, what it was. So, you know, I mean, I know that we were super comfortable together. I mean, we were so comfortable. I mean, like I said, we were constantly in connection with each other. We were constantly telling each other how we felt. It's one of those things that with them, you literally could open up to them about things that you would never open up to anybody about. You know, you just feel authentic with them. Like, you just don't feel like you have to, like, put on a mask, or that you have to lie about who you are, or you have to, like, feel like, oh, I have to do this or that to make them like me. No, like, they like you for who you are, because who you are is them. Right? So, you know, it's just like the most beautiful relationship you can ever be in, because it's just, like, so there's such honesty in it. There really is. It's just so beautiful. And then the last one, guys, 9, is when you meditate deeply within your heart, you can see if the person in question is an exact vibratory match to your soul's blueprint. Now, I don't know about this one. Like, if you're not extremely spiritual, it might be hard for you to really get this conceptually. But realistically, it's about really listening to your inner voice. You know, I was in a relationship with a guy for 7 years, and I told people, oh, this person's my soulmate. Now, I didn't know about twin flames, and I didn't know what a real soulmate was. But there were a lot of things actually about this soulmate, the things that I loved about him and the things that I liked about him were things that my twin had. It was part of my twin. Like, I was seeing part of my twin in him. And that was the things that I was falling in love with and holding on to, because I knew I couldn't have my twin. Little did I know that I could, that I just had to do the inner work, and then I would be able to have my twin one day. But so again, just to kind of go a little bit deeper into that, there would be times where I would be sitting at a table across from my ex-boyfriend, and he was my boyfriend at the time. And I feel like I would wake up and say, who is this guy in front of me? Who is he? Like, this is not the man I'm supposed to be with. And there would be times, you know, also, like, where I'd have dreams. I had a dream about my twin. Now, mind you, again, I told you, I've known my twin for 15 years. And so again, his face was not shown in this dream. I knew there were resemblances, right? So he was about the same height as me. He had brown hair, kind of like light brown eyes. He was sort of skinny. He was white. And I knew like what he looked like, but I never would have thought, ever would have thought that it was who my actual twin is. Never. And so I had this beautiful dream that my twin was with me in my kitchen in my apartment, and he was helping me cook. And I went to go to get my parents from the airport and came back, and he was, he pulled the turkey out of the oven, was helping me cook. He had like an apron on, and he was like, hey babe, like thanks for coming back, and all this stuff. And he had gotten me flowers, and these are things that the person who I was in a relationship with never valued, but I valued. I valued those things. I cared about a guy who would give me flowers. I cared about a guy who would say, oh, you're busy? Oh, you have to handle something? Don't worry, I got dinner. I got dinner ready. I'll get that done. Who would take responsibility and initiative in the relationship, who would not expect me to be the sole person to take care of the home. Because I'm a career woman, and I'm not about like just doing everything by myself. I don't want that kind of relationship. So it was really amazing to me that this guy in my dream was just like taking care of me and giving me love and affection. And all of a sudden in the dream, he's hugging me and he's kissing me and he's saying, you're going to go back to him, aren't you, Rachel? And I'm like, what are you talking about? No, I don't want to leave you. You're going to go back to him, aren't you? And I felt myself being pulled away. And I turn around and I see my ex-boyfriend, and I go into his arms in the dream, and I wake up and I'm laying in bed next to him. And it was at that very moment that I realized that I was not to be in this relationship. And so I left him, and I found a job, and I moved into my new apartment. And I wrote down a list of things that I wanted in my partner, that I had these dreams about. I had dreams about him. And I wrote down a list of all the things that he would be. Again, never would I ever have thought that the person I had known for 15 years would be the person on that list. Never. I literally had to be talking about another guy who is my false twin flame, who we'll talk about in a second. I had to be talking about him in order for literally saying to my twin, hey, twin, hey, so-and-so. So you see all these things on my list. I manifested him, except he doesn't have this, this, and this, and this. So I guess I'll just like not really worry about those things. But he's almost everything on my list. Isn't he wonderful? Isn't he great? And my twin had to literally read it back to me and say, Rachel, I'm everything on this list. I'm everything on this list. And I had to literally look at him and go, holy shit. You're everything on my list. You've always been everything on my list. Now, I've always had a love for him. Always. I've always loved him. But I've always put a boundary up because we were always just friends. And I never, ever, ever would have thought of him in that way. Ever. Never. I wanted to. There was part of me that wanted to. But I always made sure that I was being as respectful as possible. But it was like, after he showed me that, after he told me, and it was funny because some of the things on my list, he grew into. Now, I would never, it's not like everything on my list was like things that I knew about him when we were 18. It was things that not only was he had grown into, but also things that he aspired to be. That he wasn't yet, but aspired to be. So it was like, it was just like a perfect match. It was like, then it was like, all of a sudden I was like, the wheels started to turn and I was like, oh my God, this person is the one that I've like wanted my entire life. And he's been right under my nose, literally lived 3 blocks away from me. Listen to me. I lived in New Jersey my entire life. Okay. I grew up with this person. Literally by my side all day, every day, all throughout high school. Then I went to college, separated from them. Still, on and off friendship. Now, he moves to Los Angeles with his false twin flame. And they have, whatever. I moved to Los Angeles with my false twin flame and lived like a few blocks away from each other, and we still don't see each other. Barely, a few times. And it's so funny. I want to bring this up because it's so important. My twin and my false twin flame actually met in person, of course, because my twin flame was my best friend. So, of course, he'd want to meet the guy who I'd been with for like 5 years at that time, and was thinking about marrying. So he took us out to for dinner and like a little like dragon's breath dessert in Koreatown. And he brought us out, and my ex at the time, my boyfriend at the time, he was trying to get to know them. He was just trying to create a friendship with him. He was like, hey man, what's up? Let me talk to you. Let me ask you questions about yourself. Guess what my boyfriend did? Ignored him, was rude, wasn't engaging, just kind of was nonchalant. And guess what? You know what my twin said to me? My twin said, honey, why did he not get me a fruit basket? Why was he not kissing my ass? Does he not know the bond that we have? And like, it wasn't until like 2 or 3 days ago when I was looking back at my photos and I saw that picture and I was reminded of this whole story that I was like, oh my God, the way that he treated my twin was the way that he treated me. And my twin mirrored and told me, hey, Rachel, by the way, why is he not getting you a fruit basket and treating you like the queen that you are? Do you know the bond that you have with yourself? And I was like, oh my God. That's how I know that he's my twin flame. Because he shows me when I need to be treated, when I was not even being treated right because he wasn't being treated right. Because we are one. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everybody? So, it's stuff like that just, he was rude, babe. Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. Yeah, so that's kind of like how you know if they're your twin flame or not. Again, it's not this like anger, upset that you're supposed to be feeling. Your twin flame journey is supposed to be easy. It's not meant to be hard. The journey is a little bit slow and you have to be patient. But it's about doing your inner work. And so enjoy that part of it. And so I want to bring up some of the false twin flame stuff just for some of you guys who are still kind of on the fence of, I don't know if this person is really my twin flame or not. A false twin flame will regularly abandon you. So they'll choose other people and other things besides you all the time. Now, I'm not talking about, there are times when your twin flame might choose a karmic relationship. But again, sometimes that's because it's a lesson that they had to learn and go through. I certainly know from my twin, the reason why he went into his totally bland. Oh, you're talking about, okay, yes, he was totally bland. I know from my twin, he was in a karmic relationship, false twin flame relationship for 8 years. And he claims that he like really loved this guy. Like he was madly in love with him. And I was madly in love with my guy. But you know what? Our twins, our false twin flames constantly abandoned us. When shit got hard, when shit hit the fan, they were not willing to work on the relationship. They would neglect us. They would abuse us. And we both went through very similar, not carbon copies, of course, but similar situations. That's how you know that they're the false twin flame. But guess what? I had to go through that. I had to learn that. I had to be with a guy who was extremely feminine, forced me to cook and clean for him and do everything for him, who was literally a baby in our relationship. Now, I'm not trying to bash him or anything, but just, he was not my soulmate. There was nothing about him that screamed he was my soulmate. Nothing. And for my twin, same thing. This guy was not, he was more like a father to him. And he was, all these things. And so it was like all these lessons that we had to learn so that we would be better when we were in our relationship, when we were in our harmonious union, so that we were being protected so that we could have the best harmonious union. That's why That's why we were in those relationships. That's why we went through the hurt that we went through. And also so that I could then compare and contrast and know, oh my God, my twin is the most amazing man. My twin is the most masculine man. You want to know why? Because I was with a guy who was claiming to be masculine, but was so extremely feminine. And my twin, who is bi, who everyone looks at from an outsider perspective and thinks he's probably extremely feminine. And I look at him and I see him as extremely masculine. And I went through what I went through to recognize that in him. You know, and so it's all these things that you learn on these journeys with these other karmic people that help lead you to your twin flame. So here's another thing. So your twin flame, your false twin flame will try to lie to you about who they really are. So they might say things about themselves, right? They're not honest. They'll say things like, oh yeah, I like sports. And then you're like, oh, you do? Okay. Like, what do you mean you like sports? Come to a soccer game with me. And they're like, okay. And then they don't really like the sport. Like they just did it because they thought, oh, well, you like sports, so I'll like sports. And that's not about that. With twin flame relationships, you're honest with each other, first of all. And second of all the things that you guys have interest in, you'll start to vibe with because you always had those interests at your core. Like, yes, of course, you'll like teach each other and show each other these things, but, that's kind of the case. So then there's a false twin flame will not share your vision for the future. Obviously, if you guys don't, if you want kids and they don't want kids, they're probably your false twin flame. Like here's another one. A false twin flame will likely try to take as much of your love as possible without wanting to give it back. A true twin flame is somebody who will feel guilty if that happens. If they feel like you're giving them too much love, but they feel guilty about it, that's a twin flame. And they're telling you that you need to love yourself more. And like, that's a really great lesson. But if somebody's like, you don't love me enough, and then doesn't give you any love in return, probably not your twin flame. A false twin flame will likely hide their true selves from you. They will not want to honestly share the deepest parts of themselves with you. Again, they're not willing to open up. If they're not opening up with you, if you don't know them truly to their core, then they're probably not your twin flame. Now, mind you have to like do the work to get to know them, but yeah, make the effort. Again, that's where the friendship level comes in. It's so important that starts with that. A false twin flame will not be interested in bringing your painful inner misalignments to the surface. So a false twin flame will just be like happy-go-lucky, easy relationship. But guess what? In a true twin flame relationship, I'm sorry, you're going to have a lot of fucking upheaval. You want to know why? Because your twin is trying to awaken you. Your twin is trying to challenge you so that you can become the best version of yourself. Your twin will ask you questions about yourself, about how you feel, that might make you feel uncomfortable. And that's why separation occurs. And we'll talk about that in the other episode. But at the end of the day, your twin, your true twin will challenge you, will make you think, will help you take learning lessons of what you need to go through. On the surface, your false twin flame appears as your true twin flame, but as you go deeper, they reveal to you that they're not who you're actually looking for. It took me 7 years to find out that this guy was my false twin flame. 7 years it took me. Do you know how long it took me to find out that my twin flame was my twin flame? Well, I'd been friends with him for 15 years, but the minute I found out what a twin flame was and that he was everything on my list, you know what it took me? To finally get to a point where I owned him as my twin flame? 2 months. 7 years, 2 months. That's how you know. That's how you know. So now I just want to talk briefly about what unconditional love is, and then we'll jump off unless there's any other questions. So unconditional love. Let's try and figure out an example of what unconditional love is. So unconditional love, it's funny because we get conditioned to think that unconditional love is, oh, it's my family. My family loves me unconditionally, right? but sometimes not so much. You know, my mom loves me more than anything in this world. I know she does. But she only gives her love if everything is perfect and fine. If it's not perfect and fine in the way that she likes it and makes her feel comfortable, she doesn't give her love. Now, I know that she'll always love me, but there's a condition added to that. It's something that she needs to heal. It's something maybe that I need to heal, right? But unconditional love is when you can love someone without condition. You know, one of the most beautiful things about, I think, my twin flame journey, a couple of days ago, I posted something on my Instagram. I posted this beautiful picture of a butterfly. Now, my twin has told me time and time and again that he feels like a butterfly flying in a garden, and he's flying beside me, and he's sick and tired of being captured and put in a cage. And he doesn't want that for his life. He wants to fly free. Well, you know what? One of my music readings happened to be Butterfly by Mariah Carey. And so I posted the other day letting my twin know, you know, you're free. I don't want to have a hold on you. But you know why? Because that's what true unconditional love is not feeling like you need them. It's not feeling like you have to have them all the time in your life. It's not about this kind of, you know, this feeling of, you know, oh my God, if I'm not with them, then I don't know what I'm going to do. It's about what is their highest good. Allow them to have it. What is your highest good? Allow yourself to have it. Again, I can't harp enough. When you can love yourself, that's when you love your twin. That's when you love your twin. When you're loving yourself, you're loving your twin. Because at the end of the day, you are your twin is you, and you are God. And that goes back to what I told you guys about the sun. So with the sun is God. Love, source, universe, God. And the rays of light are all of the people on the planet, are all the souls on the planet. And that one ray of light was made into a flame. And those two flames are you and your twin. So not only are you the same flame, the same ray of light, but you are also connected to the collective together with all other souls. And I think that when you guys can finally be connected and connect together to the divine, then you'll recognize how you can better connect with the whole, the collective whole that is the universe. And so we'll talk a little bit more about those kinds of concepts in another episode. But I hope that you've enjoyed this, this kind of educational talk about what is twin flames, what are false twin flames, how to know if they're your twin flame. And we'll continue on this journey of really kind of bringing up these topics of how do you know if they're your twin flame by using different tools and techniques that you can find from both Jeff and Shalia's teachings, as well as some other teachings I've found online. And again, just the hope is that I can help you guys kind of find all these different resources that make it easier for you and guide you on your journey. All right, well, I'm out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll talk to you another day. Bye.